Hey guys, welcome back to the layout once again. I'm going to do a quick layout update for you. Hopefully you guys saw the last construction video. I also did a fun little running video, but it's been, I think, about a week since then, and I just want to get an update in. Not a ton has happened, but a couple things to talk about. The first of which is I've actually started to paint the backdrop. So you can see this side of the peninsula, at least on the upper section, I have the base coat of paint in. It's just a light blue, and I'll go over this in the next construction video, but I am using, what was it called? Ocean Breeze is the color from Olympic. And the color is going to turn out a little different on camera, but as I'm looking at the screen right now, it looks pretty close to how it looks to my eyes in person. So it's pretty light, but a while ago I tested something that was a little bit darker than this, and it just looked way too dark. So I'm happy with the color because it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a chameleon color depending on how you see it or where it is on the layout and the sort of backdrop features that you can have. It can either be a clear day or overcast. So I like it. It's kind of neutral, but we'll eventually add clouds and definitely some skyline as well, whether that's a photo backdrop or painted in, I don't know. But that's the start there. I've also started to do that over here as well. This is not as complete. As it turns out, I had originally painted the backdrop only to the height of where you see all that joint compound, and as I started to paint over it, I realized that that seam, or that little lip where the extra layer of paint is, was still visible despite you know, the few coats that I put over it. I tried to put a heavy coat of paint over you know, the middle section so that I would hide it, but the paint wasn't doing the job, so I did a little bit here, and then I went back, and I'm going to have to sand that out and touch up. But I'll continue down this way. I've done that around the rest of the layout as well, just patching holes, doing some sanding on the wall itself because it has a bit of a texture to it, and I want it to be as smooth as possible. So elsewhere I've done some more prep work for the painting. Here, this was the biggest amount of work. This looks totally crazy and like overkill, but if you guys remember, the backdrop height was only to where my finger is. So where that seam roughly runs down the center line of the backdrop there, that was as tall as the backdrop was originally. Then I extended it when we decided to go with the valance. So it's almost ceiling height. I left a couple inches. I don't know why. It's just easier to do that. And then down here, same thing. Before I even got painting, here you can see I originally limited the height of the backdrop to what the original height of our peninsula frame was. But I need to then go over that because there's just enough, just enough of a seam there that it's visible after you do the other coat of paint. So no painting over here. I wish I had more exciting stuff to share, but I just wanted to show you at least what I've started to work on. And what I'm doing right now then is figuring out, excuse me, I've got to turn around here, all the measurements for the backdrop that'll go down here. So I'm doing that right now. I have the sheets of hardwood or hardboard roughly cut into the size I need. I just need to trim them because this whole track here is going upgrade, but the top edge of the framework is constant. So I need to trim the hardboard that I'm going to put back there so that it fits, and then once that's in, I'll do the same thing I've done around the rest of the layout, which is fill all the holes and cracks with joint compound. And then I'm actually going to do the same thing down here as well. I think I talked about this recently. All these L braces there, they're not that ugly and they don't get in the way too much, but I would like that to just be one smooth surface. So what I'm going to do is put 1x2 sort of like backing pieces between the vertical cross members or vertical supports. So essentially I'll have, like, between this guy and the next one, a piece of 1x2 that goes you know, horizontally and is about, you know, the same depth wherever, you know what I mean. So like however high the 1x2 is, I gotta match that up with you know, the equal depth on this angled support. So it gets a little complicated, but the whole point is I'm gonna do that hopefully today, and then I'll put the hardboard up there. I'll have something to screw it into, and then we'll have one smooth surface back there that of course will also get painted that light blue color like we have up above. So it's certainly coming together, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but this gives it, the room and the layout, a much larger feel. When that was a dark brown color and was unpainted, it felt a little claustrophobic, and with the paint up there, it definitely gives some depth to the scene, and it actually looks like real sky, to me at least. And if we get really close, there's actually very little texture to it. It's hard to tell like where the roller texture is, which is a little different story over here. Since this was a painted wall, you can quite clearly see the texture there, which doesn't bother me a ton, but definitely looks a lot better on this side. And then that's all I have in terms of layout progress. Of course, I'll have much more in the next update, but really quick, I have been working on one relatively significant locomotive project, and if you watched that running video I had last time, then you would have seen this locomotive in action. I sold the Tsunami board that was originally in here, and then I also had to replace all the lighting. So then I got all LEDs in there, hooked those up to a new ESU Loksound board. That's the Loksound Select Direct. And let's take a look at the lighting real quick. So these are all LEDs. These are the 0402 micro surface mount LEDs. And you can see they're super bright and are the right color as well. And I'm gonna start it up real quick so you can listen to it. Nothing crazy, we'll just listen. So I put a TCS round 28mm speaker in there, which sounds really good. Here's the horn. Has a nice bass to it. The one thing that I do need to still do is put in this Keep Alive. I was thinking maybe I wouldn't have to, because the ESU boards just do such a better job with their built-in capacitance, but I think the Keep Alive will help even further. And then the final touch, aside from weathering, I still gotta do weathering, is this stuff here. You guys probably can't tell, but I had to replace the ditch light castings, and the headlights themselves, of course, have no lenses on them. But this stuff right here, I'll just put a little bead of that within each headlight and ditch light housing, and then I'll have a nice clear lens on there. And then, as I said, I'll just have to finish it up with weathering, and that'll be that. So, yeah, I really like the way things are progressing. I'm starting to upgrade the locomotive fleet, so now I have one more locomotive that runs. I got to do some work over here as well, but all these locomotives run well together. So I've got 3 solid consists. Actually, another thing too, I got 5 more well cars. So I got a 5-unit set of the Maxi 1s, and those came with containers as well, so I still need to weather those. Excuse me. But now I have a 15-car intermodal train sitting in the yard. Also a 20-car manifest freight, and that's our manifest power there, and then a 22-car coal train, which we have sitting over here. So 3 solid trains to run, plus a little bit of a surplus foreign power sitting in the yard. And things are really coming along. So in the next update, hopefully I'll be mostly done with the base color of the backdrop. I'm also simultaneously working on dropping feeders and setting up the sub buses so that we can eventually get that all finished up for block detection and whatnot. So I'm gonna turn that off. And then the biggest section of substructure, scenery substructure, is over in this corner or this end. So you can see I've kind of drawn the outline on the wall there. So I'll get more paper over there, and excuse me, that in that corner is going to be a pretty tall rock cut. Between this track and that track, it's just going to drop off pretty steep. but then as it starts to go to that corner, it'll rise back up and we'll have sort of a rock cut hiding that hole if you're standing in the other aisleway. So that'll be cool to get that there. And I actually also made an order to for model train stuff to get a bunch of scenery stuff. And I know that seems a little early because I still haven't even, I don't have the physical backdrop in over here yet. But I just got some base material so that over in this area we can test out what our scenery will look like and just have an idea of what materials I will need in the future. So I got some static grass. I have a static grass applicator on the way, although I know you can make your own. This one was actually pretty cheap, so I just went for it. And I also have some ballast and Sculptamold. So all of that will allow me to test out some techniques. I'm thinking originally the method that other people have used up in this area, or using this technique at least with the paper, is plaster gauze on top of this, then another coat of plaster to smooth it out. I'm thinking though, this paper is pretty strong and I don't have long expanses, so it's not going to sag too much, especially after I get the wood glue on there to waterproof it. I'm thinking just doing the Sculptamold on top because it's pretty light and we can smooth it out, and then it dries into a hard shell that doesn't crack too easy. So I'm thinking the Sculptamold alone will be good enough, but of course we will have to see. So that's on the way, and I'm going on a trip, excuse me, in a few days. So I won't be back for probably another week, but when I get back all those materials will be here and I'm gonna have some fun playing with some scenery. So anyway, that's all I have to share. Of course, I dragged that into a 12-minute video, which is quite impressive. Only had about 2 things to share, but as always guys, I really appreciate you sticking around and checking out what's going on with the layout. I'm really excited and finally back in the groove of things since I don't have too much going on with school. So yeah, that's all I have, and stay tuned. I'll see you next time.